Good evening, everybody. I'm Dane Gentry. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's had a good day. Uh, Tonight, I'm going to have Beth on again. It seems to be a big hit for everybody. I agree. She is a big hit, definitely a big hit in my life. So had to share the world with um, her graciousness and all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about boundaries, healthy and unhealthy boundaries. There's a difference. A lot of us don't even realize what boundaries are. I don't believe, and we let people all up in our space, if you know what I mean. Hey, honey,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm full. I had some apple pie too. Um,
Oh my.
I didn't tell you. Uh, David, the guy that I'm gonna have on, he offered, or he's gonna set up a skydiving thing, and I told him I'd talk it over with my boss and see what she thinks.
Wow.
So we'll talk about it more. I forgot to tell you that, but
Yeah, I used to always want to do that, and then I got older, and I have fear now of that. So um, yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
yeah, I don't know if I really want to do it or not. All right, so we're gonna talk about boundaries. Um, so I'll let you start, or if you want to.
Yep, boundaries are something that a lot of people struggle with. It's something that I've struggled with, and it can make life a whole lot simpler when we have boundaries in place and know how to implement boundaries. So, what are boundaries? They're physical and emotional limits of um, appropriate and acceptable behavior between two people. So it's like um, a fence that gives privacy and provides space to help us feel safe. So we can have that fence and if we want to have that gate and let somebody in, we can, or we can close that gate and shut it out. So setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries is crucial for self care and to have positive relationships. Um, they differ from person to person. They're mediated by variations in culture, personality, and social context. So, boundaries that may be appropriate in a business setting would be irrelevant in a setting with old friends. But setting boundaries defines our expectations of ourselves and others in different kinds of relationships. Um, I would say having healthy boundaries gives us a sense of self control, um, helps our self esteem and our well being throughout our life. And the thing is, if people don't have the chance to learn how to set healthy boundaries as children, which many people don't, it can cause challenges for us as adults.
Yeah. Um, okay. Just as far as like being able to say no. Um,
Yeah, we're gonna get into all that,
you're gonna
how to
okay.
set those uh, how to set those sort of boundaries. That's one thing, and people struggle with saying the word no. It's something I struggled with, um, and like I said, we'll get to that too because um, a lot of people struggle with it because they feel like they're being rude. They have guilt for saying no to certain things. But I was thinking maybe we could go over the different types of boundaries. Do you
All right, that's
do you
fine.
want to
Go
take us
ahead.
through that, or do you want?
You can.
Okay,
I'll talk on healthy boundaries if you want to. You talk on
okay,
these right now.
all
Okay.
right. Well, let's just go over the different types of boundaries that there are first. So
Okay.
you have physical boundaries, and this includes our body, our personal space. So basically, are you a hugger or are you a waver? And I happen to be a hugger, so I have to be aware of people around me and know not to step in that space. If they're more like stand back. Then we have sexual boundaries, and that's the intimate personal space, and that has to do with your choices of affection and personal touch that you allow. There's mental, and that's your beliefs and thoughts. And these boundaries can be crossed when someone dismisses or invalidates or even belittles your thoughts or ideas. Um, there's emotional. This is your feelings and your personal details. These can be crossed when a person um, or when a person like basically discloses your private information or they share something without your permission, And an example of this, I did this to my son several months ago, to my youngest son. I was trying to be helpful. I had good intentions, but I basically manipulated a situation. He shared something with me, and I broke his trust. He shared something with me, and I shared it with his older brother, thinking it was going to be helpful, and he found out about it later, and I broke that trust. So I learned a lesson there too. Then there's the like financial responsibilities. These are your resources, your money or belongings, and these are crossed when you feel pressured to lend or give when you don't want to. And then another one, and there's other ones too, but the last one I'll talk about is time. So um, you have a job, you have a relationship, you have children, you have church, you have school, whatever it is, all these responsibilities. And these can get crossed when you have requests for your time and you take on too much. And then many people will get mad because they didn't learn to say what you said earlier, no. I found myself struggling with this when I was younger, being involved in church, and I had a hard time saying no when my elders would come to me and it was a worthy cause. And I felt like um, I was being disrespectful, um, or wasn't doing my part if I said no, if they asked me to do vacation Bible school and then do the homeless ministry and then do the children's choir. And you have other things going on. And I struggled with that because I was taught to respect my elders and I didn't know how to say no to that. So those are some boundaries that we can talk about. And you said you wanted to talk about healthy boundaries. What healthy boundaries
Um,
are?
I think that I don't know that I struggle with. I think maybe I do in some cases struggle with boundaries. Period, whether they're healthy or unhealthy. But um, it depends on the situation for me, really, on being able to say no or how much I let someone violate those boundaries. But
Mm.
healthy boundaries is, of course, what you just said. What the unhealthy are is just being able to say no, respecting your own values, and whenever that's crossed, it causes something in your mind. That you have to go away feeling like you did something wrong because you let somebody cross that boundary. When reality is you didn't. You just didn't say
Mhm.
no, or you did something that you knew was wrong in your morals, but you still went ahead and did it because you didn't have healthy boundaries set, or you didn't know the difference, maybe, or you didn't realize just saying no is a boundary, or
And
that
again, if you're not taught that as a child,
no.
that comes into play as an adult. It makes it very difficult.
I remember when I was in Florida and I was in treatment. I remember, man, that's all they wanted to talk about, man, was boundaries or triggers, and I used to get so sick of it. Really, just be honest about it. But in reality, this boundary thing is real. um, because what happens is if you don't set the healthy boundaries, you find yourself with no time left for you, which is very, very important, especially for us that are addicts and people who aren't either. But because if you don't say no and you just keep saying yes, at the end of the day, you sit there and find, man, I ain't read, I haven't prayed, I haven't done all the things, or maybe make a meeting that you would
Mhm.
normally do. And so, keeping it simple, what does that mean? Um, don't make it complicated. It's really not complicated. It's just yes or no, really. Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to do anything, no, you don't have to explain that. There's a reason why you're not doing it. If that person can't accept just no, then it's really kind of on them, the way I see it.
Mhm.
And some people can say, "Well, you're being a prick," or "No, man, I'm looking out for me." Because as we know, I have to have my time in the morning. I have to have that. If I don't do that, then I'm off all day, and then we know what's in jeopardy, which is just not something I'm willing to jeopardize now. Um, you used to say, like Jamie, I would just up and run. I can't do them kind of things. Now, if Cody was the call, of course I'd up and run. It'd be different, but um,
People, so people understand you're talking about your brother versus your child, or your grown child in this case. Yeah.
yeah, but he's 6 years older than me. I guess maybe that has a lot to do with it. I don't know
Mhm.
what the deal is there, but that's
Mhm.
a question or some a topic for another day. But do you think I'm good at setting healthy boundaries?
I think we all can work at it. to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, the
I
nice way
figured.
to say you know. Um, I mean, you sat there and I just heard you say, um, talking about no and it's being the other person's fault. It's also our responsibility to be able to set that, to set that boundary and it's on us to set that boundary first of all. If they have a problem with it, yeah, that's on them. Is
Yes,
that what you were saying?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
And it's all about respect, really, and it goes both ways. Sometimes I might not come off as the most respectful. Just like a situation happened on my show the other night. I'd kind of been letting it um, go and was just trying to basically talk over him until finally I had to say, "Hey, that's not what my show is about." And I
Hmm.
felt like I did it the right way.
And did
He
you
hasn't been.
struggle with that later? Did you feel any bad feelings about it later, or were you perfectly content with it and
I was
never gave
content
it
with
another
it. I
thought?
shared it. I shared it with you. I was content with it, and they haven't been back on my show, so that just goes to show, I mean, what they were doing here anyway.
Right,
So
right.
it's not a big deal. I wouldn't do the things that he was doing. So, uh, but that's just me. One thing about me is that I do have a lot of respect. I am a respectful person when I'm sober, not when I was getting high, of course. But um, I guess it goes back to the discussion part of it. I discussed it with you, and you were like, "You did nothing wrong. Let it go, and it's over with." And so, um, I can probably work on boundaries. I'm sure. Um, I think this is a little different setting. Also, is because I'm on here and I'm wanting to help people. I ain't on here wanting to be a prick, but sometimes you kind of have to be one in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and that's in life because some people will just, I come from a different world. I come from a different place, and so unfortunately, most of my adult life was spent, where, and so in there, it's you kind of nip things in the bud immediately and it's done. Now here in the world and says we're living, you can't always do that. Because for one, I can't live out here the way I live in there. You're actually gonna go to jail or you're gonna go, you know what I'm saying? You
Right.
just can't do that. So um,
Different
you know,
situations and
it is.
yeah.
It is different. What about work? Is there boundaries at work?
Yeah, let's go through unhealthy boundaries and then
All right, go
um
ahead.
we'll go through that too. So so again, unhealthy boundaries are um where there are unhealthy boundaries, this is when safety in relationships, of all relationships, are compromised. It leads to dysfunctional relationships. And this is where people's needs are not met, including our own. Um, and this is, again, like a healthy, you talked about the healthy boundary being able to say no. So an unhealthy would be having a difficult time saying no. Having, another side of that is having trouble accepting a no from others.
Mm.
And I remember a time when you had that you had that issue, and I got tired of saying no, and finally would give in, and we'll kind of go through that too. But needing to clearly communicate one's needs and wants. I hear this in relationships a lot, and people are sharing with me, I can't, I've got this going on in my relationship, and I'm like, well, can you talk to your partner, to your husband, to your wife, to whoever it is? And they're like, no, I don't feel like I can. um and I never really understood that, because I feel like if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're intimate with somebody, why do you have a hard time communicating to that person? You should always be able to communicate to that person what you want. That's something I think people need to think about too. If you can't share with the person that you're with, or if you've got that far away from that person, you need to start making some steps to figure that out, and that may include counseling and stuff. Um, but
That's a good
another
word.
unhealthy boundary is compromising your personal values and beliefs, or your opinions to satisfy other people. Um, Being coercive or manipulative to get others to do something you don't want to do. This happens a lot with people that suffer addiction, that are in active addiction.
Nah.
Very, very manipulative. Um,
I don't
I'm
know what
not
you're talking
picking on
about.
you. I'm not picking on you.
I know
Another
you're
thing
not.
which I've been guilty of is, and I've had to reel that back in over the years, is oversharing personal information, and we all have to be careful with that nowadays. Uh, People can use that against us. So be careful what you disclose to others.
Everyone's not
Unhealthy,
your friend, so I don't want to cut you off, but
huh?
I just need to say everyone's not your friend.
That's
You
right.
know, man. I'm 48 years old, and we know how many friends I have. And in reality, I'm building healthier friendships now, but there's no one that I grew up with that I'm friends with. No one, absolutely no one, because you know everybody's an addict. Everybody. I think there's more people getting sober, but
You
everyone's not
mean
your
they're
friend.
actively using?
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
what I meant. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Um, you know, um, but there are, there one in particular who who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say anybody's name, but I talked to him last night. I didn't talk to him, I just messaged him, and it was, here he is reaching out for something honest that he's wanting to do for me. Of all people, me. He's reaching out for me. I'm not boasting, but
Hmm.
that made me feel good. You know what I mean? He's trying to start a different venture in his life. He's got money saved up, and just like me, people would never believe it. And so, um, anyway, I'm off topic, but go ahead.
It's okay. So again, we kind of talked about, when you're a child and you may not have grown up with knowing healthy boundaries. And I kind of was a mix of both, and I went through abuse with my siblings. Um, but I had pretty good parents for the most part. But this happens too with people that have been abused as children. They don't know how, um, and or what healthy boundaries are. They don't know how to set them or know what they are. They often grow up with a lack of control over their personal and physical boundaries, and this pattern can repeat as they pick abusive partners later on in life. And that's something, if you've done that, to be aware that that's a cycle. Um, that's dangerous to get into. So be aware of that too. Um, you know, if you are an adult and you're now trying to set healthy boundaries, what can happen is the people that are in your life can start to kick and scream, so to speak, which is uncomfortable. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it really is hard. You've got to first decide what is it, what's the goal. Um, why are you setting this boundary? And start small. Don't don't pick something huge. Don't pick a boundary that's super hard right now or uncomfortable. The key is to start small and focus on one goal at a time. Because what's going to happen is you're trying to change the dynamic with that. We're going to, like you were asking earlier about work, we're going to cover like goals with relationships, goals with, sorry, boundaries with relationships, boundaries with parents, boundaries with kids, boundaries at work. We're going to go through all of that. But when you're first trying to set goals, when you haven't learned and you're just trying to learn to set these boundaries, you need to set the goals. You need to start small, and then you need to practice. Write things down because it's uncomfortable, right? It's If you haven't set boundaries before, it can be uncomfortable. Trying to approach a person and not knowing they're probably going to react in a bad way. And then you're probably going to go back, if you're like me. It's probably going to take a little bit to master this. You need to practice it. Um, you want to think about setting a boundary. If it makes you nervous, write out what you want to say. Practice it in the mirror. Again, keep it simple. Less is more. You don't want to confuse somebody. So, for example, this is something small. When I come home from work, I'm talking to people all day long. My son wants to come down the stairs and hit me with all this stuff. And I've said, look, I need space. I love you, but I need space. I need 15 minutes to chill out before you come at me with all of this. Well, that was hard. That was a simple boundary, but it was still kind of hard for him at first to understand. But that's a simple boundary. You don't want to get too difficult. But just be prepared for people trying to fight on what you're trying to set. You got to hold strong to it and not give in, because when you give in, you end up right back where you started. So my kids, when they were younger, used to know how to push my buttons, and I'd be exhausted, and they would keep coming at me and coming at me, and finally they said mom so many times I was like fine, and I would just give in. I think I did that with you a few times too. And I was mad at myself for doing that. But I was so exhausted that I finally would just give in. If you can just hold on and continue to maintain that boundary, you will change the dynamic and have a lot more peace in your life.
Without a doubt. That's why I laughed a while ago when you was talking about the kicking and screaming. I was thinking about me,
I always
and
think about you when I think about
I
that
know
because
that's why I laughed. That's
I
why I
don't know
laughed.
anybody that kicked and screamed harder than you.
Yeah, it
Um,
was,
I had
yeah,
two boys, and other people have many more kids, but I functioned out of guilt a lot raising them because they came from a divorced family, and I functioned out of guilt. That's how I was, and I didn't want to say no. I wanted to give them everything I could to replace them not having their mom and dad in the same house. But yeah, it gets exhausting when somebody is relentless and never giving up. It's hard, and so that's why you start with a simple set some simple goals. As far as where your what boundaries you want to set, figure those out. And it just takes practice. I think I've gotten a little bit better, and it, it may be if somebody is like will not let up, and you don't live with them, for example, block their number or put them on silent so you don't see it. If it's hard for if it's hard for you, you know, to not respond, so you don't see it, either block it or put your text on not, you know, what I don't even remember what the little button is, but it's something where you don't see them. It doesn't come through. It doesn't show you like the notifications
yeah.
because you've got to maintain your sanity.
um, and it's different in everyday life versus dealing with an addict.
Mm.
And of course, that's mainly what we talk about. I mean, but we won't stop. That's for sure. If you don't set a boundary, and even when you first set it, we're going to try to climb over the fence and break through the wall and everything we can. The whole blocking thing, it works because that was a way, that you can say no then because they have no way to reach you, like you said. But
But it's not
uh,
even it's not even with people that have substance use disorders. To be honest,
no, I know
it
that.
is when somebody's used to getting their way with you to try to change that dynamic. It's hard. People do not. They don't understand why all of a sudden are you changing? Why are you doing this? And they make it about them. They're used to getting something from you, and they're no longer getting it. So it's not even. It doesn't. It is definitely. I think for me, it was harder for me to say no to you because it never ended. And you did suffer with addiction issues. You were in your addiction, and that was hard. But it can be all kinds of different relationships. To be honest, when somebody's used to getting their way, they don't like it when you tell them no.
Do you think that? So, like when something, just whatever it may be, it happens during the day and at night. If it's something that really bothers you, do you believe that a boundary was crossed then? Because it shouldn't be bothering you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you let someone, I don't know, like they say yes, man, or whatever. You just always say yes, but then at night you go home and you're constantly thinking about, man, why did I do that? Why can't I just say no? So that's a boundary that's crossed, right?
Yes, that's definitely a boundary that's crossed. I had somebody in group I talked to before. I said, we had talked about boundaries before, and I said, "How does that make you feel now that you say no? Does it make you uncomfortable? Does it make you feel bad?" Because I know how I struggled at first saying, even with stuff at church, how I struggled with saying no. And I'll never forget this. She said, "For so long I was in active addiction, and I never felt my feelings." And she said, "Now I just learned to sit in the uncomfortable, and it passes." Um, and then once you do that so many times, I think it's easier to say no. Once you get through that feeling of no, I get what you're saying because I didn't like it. I was like, do they think I'm rude? Do they not like me? Did they, all those things that went through my head? It just felt it wasn't comfortable, because I wasn't
Yeah.
used to saying no to people. It wasn't comfortable. I didn't want to hurt somebody. I didn't want to upset somebody. But at the end of the day, I want peace in my life. I need to have time. I need to not have all this stress in my life because I'm taking on too much. It's very normal to feel that way. But I think after you do it so many times, it becomes more comfortable. I really admire people, and I've run into a lot of them. They're just a flat out will tell you no, and they have no problem with it. And I honestly admire that in people. You don't owe anybody a reason why. If you can't do something or don't want to do something or whatever it is perfectly fine to say no. But that's uncomfortable for a lot of us to do.
Well, what about when you're setting this boundary and you keep trying to tell the person, not someone you love, it could be someone you love, and they just keep um, breaking that boundary or whatever. So when is it come to the point to where I can be rude, I can be an asshole about it? Um, how many
I
times do
don't
I
know
have?
that you ever for me, because I've learned I've grown a lot in a lot of ways. Um, I don't want to be an asshole. I I don't want to react. I still do. I'm not perfect, but I don't want to react in a negative way to people. If they can't accept that and they keep pushing me, maybe they don't need to be in my life. To be honest, if they're going to continue to disrespect me that way, maybe they don't need to be in my life because I don't want to react that way. And sometimes not saying anything back. If somebody continues to push you and push you and push you and ask you for the same thing after you've said no, sometimes I won't even respond. And if
Yeah,
you're face to face with somebody, looking at somebody and they're doing this to you over and over, they know what they're doing. Um, it's manipulative. And if they're doing this over and over again to you and you just look at them and say nothing, they're going to get the point.
yeah.
And if they
Um,
don't, again, maybe it's just time they're not, they don't need to be in your life. I don't know.
I
It's,
agree with that. I agree with that because it becomes a problem. Their problem becomes your problem, basically. And
mhm.
we got enough shit going on. We don't need nobody else's. And so, but that's
Well, if
not.
you don't have that respect for me, then have enough respect. I'm going to have enough respect for myself
There you go.
now to
Yeah,
say, you know what? You don't get to be in my space anymore. You're
yeah.
causing me feelings I don't want to feel anymore. And if you cared about me, you wouldn't do this to me.
What if it's like a lifelong friend? Someone that you've been friends with for 30 years, and all of a sudden, they just won't stop avoiding you or violating your space or whatever your boundaries. How do
Mhm.
you deal with that? Easy way, or you just nip it and just end that friendship?
No, I mean, some friendships are worth fighting for, and it depends. Again, there's the dynamic. You've changed the dynamic. They're used to you always being whatever the situation is. They're used to you always being there. They're used to be you being the yes man, whatever whatever the case. They're used to that. You're changing the dynamic. Give it some time. You don't have to respond. I don't. Every situation is different. If you're not living with somebody and you're saying this is a friend, you don't have to respond if they're texting you or calling you nonstop. You don't have to answer the phone. You don't have to respond back in text. You do it when you feel like you're ready to respond, and your answer is still the same. Whatever
Right,
it was, it's still the same. If it's you know they're bugging you to go do this with them, and you really aren't going to do it, your answer is still I'm not doing this. I need to move on to the next thing. I wouldn't give up on good friendships, but again, good friends would respect you better than that.
right. It's like, okay, so let's just say we haven't had boundaries and they've all been unhealthy, but we decide we're gonna make that change. And so, I think sitting down and talking to the person and saying, "Hey, I know that you're used to me jumping and running, but I just can't do that anymore," or whatever it may be. They should respect that, and if they don't, yeah, then that's kind of on them again, isn't it?
Yeah, most likely, if they're a good friend, they're a good person, they have good values and things, they're going to come around eventually. I hear this in families and stuff with siblings and the pressure. Eventually, they're going to come around.
Yeah. Um. Or
If they don't, the main thing is taking care of ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. Again, of course, that's what I was saying. As what I struggle with, and so I have to get up in the mornings and I have to do the things I do, and I need that time. And when I feel like that boundary or whatever you want to call it, I just say my space, but it's a boundary is violated. Um,
Mhm.
that it just knocks my whole day off. And so I'm letting someone else disrespect me then, because you're not respecting the fact that, listen, I need to do this because this saves my life. We'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from this time to this time, um, I need this. And if you don't respect that, we don't need to be friends, because if we're friends and you know what I've been through, man, if you couldn't respect that, then yeah, we don't need to be friends. That's how I feel about that one. I would just be like, mm-mm, it's different, I guess, in a relationship or whatever. There may be something maybe come up at that time or whatever, but in a friendship, but I feel like most people would respect it though. But there are those who, for whatever reason, they just don't get it.
But if you're an adult trying to set these new boundaries, they're not used to it.
Yeah,
So, I mean, the main thing is setting boundaries in any relationship. It's not about keeping others out. It's trying to provide an environment where there's a balance between the needs and wants of all people, but protecting yourself. Um, so, I think if it's a good relationship or family, hopefully they're going to come around. They're just not used to. They're going to come around to your side, but they're just not used to this new you that's trying to get healthy and take care of yourself. They're used to a different dynamic. So, and if somebody never does come around, then we have to learn to accept that too. This isn't what you want in your life. I
yeah,
don't want somebody that's trying to pressure me or force me to do something, or yeah, not respecting my time, my space, whatever it is. I don't want that in my life. And I think I'm older now too, so it's easier for me to see these things now as opposed to when I was younger. Um, but I realize now how precious time is to me,
yeah,
and I realize what I have to offer. And if you can't offer me that back, then I don't want that in my life.
right. It's your personal choice too, and then people have to respect that.
Hmm.
That's a boundary too.
Hmm.
What about a parent?
What about a parent?
How do you set a boundary there if it's unhealthy? I mean, it's your parent.
I mean, I've had to do that with, and you know this with my mother, and she's a active alcoholic. I would say she's functioning, um, and she's older, and I love her so much, but I did go into a time, probably, I don't know, was it about 3 years ago,
Yeah,
and she was very disrespectful to me, and I actually did have to block her, and I felt guilty because the Bible says honor your mother and father, but what she was doing to me was very unhealthy. Um, and and I tried to have conversations with her. I tried to be respectful. I tried to have the discussions. I tried to um, not I tried to not be confrontational with her, but it wasn't respected. And I'm really not sure when that turned. I don't even remember it. But now things are different. And I think it all started with, and I hate to bring this up, with politics. And she chose a different stand than I did. Um, but she wouldn't stop insulting me. And that was a problem for me. And I said, can we not just agree to not talk about it? Because I didn't have a problem. I don't have a problem with anybody having their own views. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to have your own opinions and feelings, right? I am too. But when you disrespect me on that and tell me I'm not allowed to do that, that's a problem. And when you're insulting me, that's okay. That's not okay. I don't know where we turned that corner, but we have never talked about politics since, and everything is has. So maybe she learned. Maybe she, from me not talking to her and me, keeping her at a distance. I guess maybe she learned I'm not going to bring that up anymore with her, because I'd rather have a relationship with my daughter than have it this way.
yeah,
But studies show obviously that it's extremely stressful to um, try to address issues with your parents, especially as an adult, you were taught to look up to them, to respect them. Um, and you can still be respectful of them. You have the tone to set how the conversation's going to go. And again, all I would say is try to do it in a loving way. Keep a calm voice. Don't be accusatory. Um, be rational, keep things again when anybody you're talking to, um, pick a small thing to start with. Don't bombard people with too much at once when you're trying to talk to them about something. Just keep the topic simple when you're trying to talk to them. See where they stand, but everybody has a right to voice how they feel and what their needs are. And if you
I'm going to be honest. I don't think that we do that enough. I think that's the problem. I don't think that we speak up enough. I don't because we don't want to hurt someone's feelings or whatever it is. And so a lot of things go unsaid, and so you're sitting there feeling like you're disrespected or your boundaries been crossed or whatever. But at the end of the day, does it kind of lay on us for not saying something about it or whatever?
And I would say too, um pick your battles, pick the hill you want to die on. Don't I could have all kind of issues if I wanted to, but it's the main things, and my main things are don't insult my integrity. Don't talk about my kids. You don't get. I get to talk about my kids. You don't get to. But don't insult who I am as a person. Is the main thing. Um, I don't know. It's different. It's different for everybody.
It is.
I
I don't
You
know
got
if
to
you're.
figure out what's important to you. What are the things that are important to you? And if somebody's crossing that line, um, it you need to. It's up to you to put a stop to it. But you
Yeah,
can't have a problem with everything. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree with that completely. Um, Carol just said she's on. She's not seeing where I'm live. I don't know why she can't see it. She sent me a message on Messenger. But Carol, I want to tell you, Carrie sent you a gift, just so you know, times one. So it's on my stuff. So
Send
ask
who
her
a
if you can.
gift.
Sent you one.
I don't know. Well,
Mm.
thank you. I don't even know what that means, but thank you.
It's the beans and stuff in here.
Oh,
It's
that's sweet. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know. No, of course, with I never. Me and my mother had a more of a friendship than anything, and we know the story there. And
Hmm.
I don't think there was any kind of. I don't know. I definitely didn't grow up with any boundaries or knowing what they were or thought about them. Never even heard about them until I went to treatment the first time.
Hmm.
I still got a long ways to go with them. I think. I think.
I think it's always something that we always work at. To be honest with you, I do. I think for those of us that have struggled with it, I think it's something we're always going to be working at.
I struggle with not wanting to be an asshole. Really, is what I struggle with. But unfortunately, in some cases, you just have to be. As what I see anyway, especially in today's world. I mean, the world we live in is whatever, but um, you don't
Maybe,
always have.
maybe sometimes, but I don't know that you always have to respond that way. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you don't even have to respond at all. You can just, somebody does something or says something you don't like, you don't even have to respond to. They're forced to have to hear themselves again. It makes them almost feel uncomfortable because you didn't say anything back to them. We can choose how we respond to somebody. Do we react to them with hostility back if that's what they're giving to us? Or can we do it in another way and maybe teach them another way to respond by how we do it? Like,
Yeah,
it's like two wrongs don't make a right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get, like, I do too. Like, I get angry at things too. That's a whole nother topic. But we can choose how we respond to people, and it doesn't have to be in an asshole way like you may want to. You can make somebody feel an inch tall, and you don't have to cuss at them, yell at them. There's a way to do that.
I mean, in reality, you tell me that all the time. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I mean, you always say that. You talk about your father, how his presence, commanded respect or whatever, and he didn't have to be that way. People just knew to respect him. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm just different. I'm completely different. I was just in a different world, lived in a different world for a
You
long
never
time.
learned, and your way
No,
was
I didn't.
yours was a different way. Absolutely, yours was more of a physical way to respond to things.
Yeah,
When somebody would cross a boundary you didn't like, you'd handle it a different way. There's no doubt. And
yeah.
again, you didn't learn, like you said, and I'm not sure maybe your mom knew him either to teach you at the time. So,
No, she didn't. I don't think she had. I think. Well, I mean, she was an addict and alcoholic, so she didn't have any boundaries. I mean, I not that I can. I'm sitting here thinking. I've been thinking about it for about the past 10 or 20 or 15 minutes here. I'm sitting here thinking, did she? And she didn't, especially when it came to men. Um, I mean, she let him beat her and all those different things, and um, so I definitely didn't have no good role model to look at for that kind of stuff. But I didn't
mm.
have no,
But
other
you
than my
can learn,
grandparents.
and there's even worksheets online.
My
Um,
granddaddy, my granddad had some boundaries now. That's for sure. I think about that.
mhm,
My granny did too. My granny did too. I mean, but
yeah,
my granddad was a great, great man. I just should have paid more attention to him and spent more time with him, and I did in a lot of ways. I saw a lot of things, and a lot of things that I think that are some of my values I do hold in life come from him and things he done, and
yeah.
I just
Well, take what you remember and hold on to it. But again, if you didn't learn it, it's hard to do it now. Again, like I was saying, there's worksheets online. There's simple worksheets. Just practicing setting simple boundaries, or get with a therapist and work through them. The main thing is this is our one life. I don't want to waste any more time.
no
Um,
man, I don't either. I don't either.
I'm boundaries are important to set in every aspect of our life, but again, keep it simple. Um, you know, pick your goals, write them down. What is it that you're wanting to accomplish with setting boundaries? What are the goals with your boundaries?
Right.
Um, what is it that's you? The main thing is for me, it was relieving, trying to eliminate stress in my life. People would cross my boundaries because I clearly didn't set them. Um, and I would say something, and then I would go back, and they knew if I could just push a little bit harder, I can get you to do what I want you to do. And then I was
Yeah.
mad. But who should I have been mad
Oh
at?
yeah.
I should
Yeah.
have been mad at myself
Yeah. But
because
it's
I
me.
wasn't strong
He's
enough
mad
to
at
hold
me.
on to my boundary.
He's mad at me. Um.
It wasn't just you.
Huh?
It wasn't just
I
you.
know, honey. I'm just playing.
Yeah, but I
I
know.
know,
But
honey. I'm
there's
playing. I know.
there's a there's there's a lot. The main thing is you can do it in a kind way. You can do it in a calm way, and also don't what we call, I guess, ghost people. Don't run from things or try to avoid it, because you can't grow from it, and they can't either. You got to give people the opportunity to at least respect, your boundaries. Um, so you asked about work too, earlier
Yeah.
about setting boundaries at work, and one thing I would say, and I learned a lesson with this too. If you have an issue with coworkers, try to speak to them directly first. If you can't, then go to your chain of command next. The worst thing you can do is start gossiping and going to other coworkers. That's gonna bite you in the butt.
Every time.
Um, it's gonna come back to you. Try to be adult about things, is what I'm saying. When you have a problem with somebody, go directly to the source of the problem, and again, do it in a calm way. You don't want to use you statements when approaching anybody, and most people probably know this by now. You want to go, I feel this way when this happens. You don't ever want to go, you did this to me. You made me feel this way. That's going to put somebody on the defensive, and you're going
Boy.
to have um, completely done the opposite of what you set out to do.
All that is sick behavior anyway. We know
Mm,
that.
yeah.
And I know you're not talking directly about me and to me, but you're speaking to me in so many ways because I did all these things. And you know
Mm,
that. You know that. There's
mm.
no secret. And um, you know, I know that with work and stuff like that, like you're good at it. I mean, that's the thing about most people are not going. You're not going to push over by no means. It was different. Me and you were different than what we're talking
It's
about, like the
different
work
when
and
you're
stuff.
very close to somebody.
Yeah,
It's very different
yeah,
from clients to somebody that's in your life that you love.
right.
And I didn't respond well all the time either. I'm definitely not perfect at any
Yeah,
of
but
it.
at the end of
And
the day, I mean, you shit. As you said that, and you've said this, and since we're being honest, you said that I wouldn't have. You man, a trooper just she shouldn't. I mean, she shouldn't be here on the other side of this microphone even speaking to me. Let's just be honest about it.
uh,
Um, but it's because you did see the good in me and you love me, and You
And I
knew
think a
why I was
lot of it's
doing it.
God, to be honest. I
Yeah,
honestly do. I've got to give, and I meant to do that at the beginning too, because
yeah,
if main goal of doing any of this is for His glory and to help other people, maybe get something, one little thing out of you know what I say, what I do. I give Him all the glory, all the praise, because it's because of Him, and I'm far from perfect. We know that, and I react. I don't always respond kindly. I call it reacting. Um, I get pushed too far, and that's my fault for when somebody comes across and they're constantly coming at me with emails and texts or whatever. I have, and I think I've done better lately to just not even respond at all. And
yeah.
I've tried to respond kindly. I'll respond kindly with people. I'll pray with you. I'm done with this conversation. I'm not doing it anymore. I've said how I feel, and that's that. And be okay. And I'm okay with it. I'm
I
okay with
was
that. I've learned to be okay with that.
I
Um,
was the world's worst at saying, "Oh, it's your fault." I had a conversation with someone today, and we was talking about that. He guy's having some relationship problems, and I said, man, at the end of the day, I used to be one of them. I'd always say it was her fault, and it wasn't. What nothing hurt. It was me. I was the problem, and he has to realize that too. He doesn't want to, but that's his deal. Or but it was the same thing, and I said that. I was
Accountability.
man. I was so good at pointing at everyone else, but I don't today. I take responsibility for everything. I'm not one of them people that say, "Oh man, the cops were picking on me." No, they wasn't. They wouldn't never been there if I hadn't broke the law. You know what I mean? There's
Hmm.
things like that, and there's still so many people who don't. I mean, there was people on the inside that still want to say, "Oh, the cops just." And there are cases that has happened. I'm not saying that it's not either. You know what I mean? That they shouldn't, or whatever. But for me, I can promise you, I never was arrested when I didn't fucking deserve to be. So, um,
Yeah.
and everything I went through, I deserved it. I do not
Mhm.
think that I should have done as much time as I did. But at the end of the day, I broke the law. So I put myself in that position. No one else did it. I did that. So
Mhm.
you have to accept it and man, move on.
And that's accountability. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you deserved everything. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's just a way to handle things and handle people, and we have a right to speak up for ourselves. And I think that's hard for a lot of us. But we have a right to say if somebody's coming at us, I don't like the way I'm being spoken to right now. I would, and maybe it's a topic you would like to discuss, but like I know for me, like I'm in school, I'm working, I'm raising a kid, I'm trying to, start
Raising
this
two
other
kids.
venture.
You got two
And
kids.
I may say, I would like to talk to you about this, but right now is not a good time. Can we talk about this later?
Yeah.
And and that's a healthy way to handle it. Or if somebody's, kind of escalated when they're talking, I do hear that you're frustrated. I do hear this, but I would like to discuss this, but maybe we can do this when we're calmer. There's a way to say things without being, hateful back.
Yeah.
So there's also for those that have a hard time with just saying no, which you all is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence.
Yep.
Um, when it comes to any of that, I'm one of those that I give a little more explanation, but you don't have to. You don't owe anybody that. But I'm one of those when somebody asks me to do something, I would say, now I will say, you know what, I'm honored that you'd asked me to do that. But right now, my plate is really full and I'm just not able to. But ask me again down the road. That's something you could say, or you know what, I would if I could, but I'm able to help with that right now. Again, you're appreciative if somebody's inviting you to do something or go somewhere. I really appreciate the invitation or whatever it is, but I can't participate. I'm honored, but I can't do this right now. It's okay to give a little bit of um explanation to your no if you're one of those like me that can't just say no and leave it as a complete sentence that it is. So
I
I
saw that. I just saw that an hour ago. A young guy was needing a sponsor, and he asked someone, and I saw the guy, and he explained it very, very well. He said, "I'm sorry, but right now I can't. I've got too many, but I can lead you in the right way to someone who can." And the way he handled it was amazing because the young guy is struggling, struggling to speak
Mhm.
and struggling all these things. So you already feel some type of way when you're asking somebody to do that anyway. As a man, I'm not sure if it's the same way for women. I guess in some cases it is, but the way he handled it, He could have handled it if he would have just handled it another way. Who knows what would happen to the kid? You know what I mean? He might not
Hmm.
ever come back in the room, but he handled it so gracefully, and then took him to talk to the other person. So yeah, I mean, definitely, you can be nice and respectful. Um,
I would say you were more of an aggressive type than assertive.
yeah,
Um, and if you would lead with anger because you were going to intimidate
right,
first.
right.
Um, and there's people that do that too. There's actually like there's something called assertiveness training
Hmm.
that people can do to learn how to be assertive and not aggressive, not wait until you get angry and then you feel bad about yourself. Because the
Yeah,
whole point of this is to make is to take the stress off of your plate, to make things comfortable. And so there is a difference in aggressive and assertive um, behavior. And I try to be one that's more assertive and not aggressive. Although, again, I'm human and, I kind of relapse back into my old patterns at times too. And you know that. And um, I have to learn to be accountable for the things I do too and go back and maybe make my amends and my apologies for how I respond to situations. I don't want to be that person. I want to be an assertive person and be okay with when my no is no, my no is it's okay to say no. It's okay that I feel this way and it's okay that I can't do this stuff right now. And it's okay if I'm just tired and don't want to, be a part of something. It's okay for me to take care of myself. And I never really realized until I don't know maybe the over the past decade it's starting to come clearer to me and I'm getting better at it, taking care of myself. And if I need to sleep, I need to sleep.
I
I
agree with
mean,
that. I agree 100%. You are for sure. You need your time, and
everybody
um,
does.
yeah, you get it. Have we covered all of it with the boundaries?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, when you're setting boundaries, it does require self-awareness. We need to be clear about our expectations of ourselves and others, and what we're not comfortable with in whatever specific situation that it is. And it does require communication skills, and you may not be good at communicating. So, there's all kind of videos and stuff you can look up on things like that too. I would eventually like to cover things like that on communication and relationships and dealing with anger, because a lot of us aren't taught these things. And I've been through a lot of therapy in my life. And again, I'm in school for counseling, so I am learning things as I go too. But I think it's so important to educate ourselves on these topics.
Yeah. Well, I guess education in every way, and yeah, again, people come from different backgrounds. Some people learn all this well when they're young, and some of us, we're late to the race, as they say, and
Yeah.
it's
Just
something.
realize you're not bad or selfish if you need to say no. If you need to set that boundary, you're not. Or you are selfish. You're being and that's a good thing too. It's okay to be selfish if you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
That's where it's okay.
So I call it like with my grandfather. Like he wasn't mean or anything. He was just stern. Sometimes is what I call it. Like when he always was laughing, joking, all that, and I guess there's a healthy and unhealthy sternness. You don't, like you said, you don't have to be mean and disrespectful and all that. But but again, some people,
There's a line of where you respect somebody and fear somebody.
it is, it is. Uh, Fear. You don't want someone to fear you anyway. I
No,
would,
I
I
feared
would,
my dad growing up. I mean, he was a big man with a big voice, and it would scare me. But as I got older, I learned to respect him. I don't. You don't want to. I don't want somebody to fear me. I want them to respect me. You're exactly right. But there is
yeah,
a
because
difference in that.
in the world I grew up in, there's a saying, a scared man will kill you. And that's true. But I would much rather someone, that question's been brought up to me before many times. Would you rather have someone respect you or fear you? I'd much rather have someone respect me. There's
Hmm.
probably been a time in my life that someone fearing me may have made me feel good or something, probably because I was an idiot. But, not today. My son's father and I had that very conversation. Yeah, it's true. I'd much rather be respected than feared any day. And that's what I shoot for today. Um, I want no. You don't want him to fear him. Yeah, Carrie said her ex wanted, or her son's father wanted the son to fear him, and that's just
Mm.
wrong. Because then if he fears him, he's never going to come to me and talk to him about anything. And
Which is very dangerous nowadays for sure, because you
yeah,
want your kids, yeah, to come
with,
talk. You want to have that communication with them for sure. Yep.
without a doubt,
Mm.
I mean, to me, yeah, it's no. I've talked about it on here before. I haven't been in Cody's life, and man, it would make my day. And you know this, if he would just say he needed my help in any kind of way, come talk to me. But if he feared me, that's just never going to happen. And anyway, he talks to.
And
And Carrie said he talks to her, not his father. And yeah,
thank God for being the hero in his life. I'm glad that you're there to be the hero in his life, because that's what you are.
just like you are, and don't cut yourself short there, because you are as well, and Caden and stuff, and you are David too,
Mm.
and so
Parenting doesn't come with a handbook. Every child's different. Every situation's different. That's another thing too. But
she said she was
yeah,
mom and dad many years. Yeah, you know, um, I never had a
me
dad
too.
either. I never had a dad either. I only met him because Beth found him. Really, to be honest about it, and that's a story for another day. We just kind of got up and drove there, kind of deal. But at the end of the day, I could have went out without it. I think maybe, I don't know, but anyway, all right, we're gonna go, you guys. Thank everybody for coming on. Bobby, Ray, Carrie, definitely. GJRB, he's always here too, and Carrie's been here ever since she's found us, and that's amazing, awesome, and thank you so much.
It's awesome.
We hope we help somebody, and we hope you learn something to help you in your everyday life. That's what this is all about. Beth is the educated one. I'm just along for the ride.
I
So
don't know about that.
um, together, we're hoping this duo here thing's going to work and helps people. I think it's a very positive thing, because our relationship's been through it, and again, it's been me, and here we are, now today, and it's only because I'm getting healthier, and I do that each and every day. But it's only because of God, as she said. Without Him, none of this is possible. We both know that, and
Mm,
anyone who knows me knows it's only by His grace that I am here.
mm.
Um, Thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate that. Bobby said the show is amazing. Thank you.
And
I
I
really
just
do
want to
appreciate that.
remind everybody again: be kind to each other.
There you go.
Um, Kindness is free. It's easy to give, and so many people need it nowadays. So, be kind. Be kind to one another. Look out for each other. Get up off your phones. Take your eyes off your phones and look up and make eye contact with somebody, and even just give them a smile and say hi. Would make a difference.
Man, you just don't know. You see a
Mm,
stranger, and if it don't light you up when someone says, "Hey, how are you doing today?" Something's wrong there. But we love y'all. Just
yeah,
show a little bit of love, man.
for
People
sure.
need it. It could be, someone on the side of the road. Just say, "Hey, someone loves you." Whether you're talking about yourself loving them or God, either way, they hear the word
Mm,
love, and
yeah,
it'll help them out. And we love y'all. God bless y'all, and
absolutely. God bless everybody.
we'll see y'all tomorrow night. Thank y'all.
Thank you.